Today we're going to be looking at my newest mock, which is the Andy Griffith Sheriff Station, inspired by the Lego set 6755, as I use the windows and sign from that vintage Lego set. I thought, every Lego city needs to have a nice police station. And yes, Lego does make a really cool looking police station in the modular line of buildings. But me wanting to be different, I thought this would actually be a fun way to use some of the vintage pieces that I have laying around in my trays. You'll notice in the background on my computer monitor, I have an image pulled up of the sheriff's department from the Andy Griffith show. And I'm doing that to help get me inspired, give me ideas, and give me kind of a way to guide myself. One of the trickiest things I find when doing mocks is trying to get them sized accordingly. Here's what I mean. I'm building on a 32 by 32 base plate. Now, this could easily be built on a much larger platform to make it look more realistic. But to me, the key is to try and downsize the building, so to speak, to fit on a 32 by 32 base plate, because I want to keep everything in my city modular. That's not to say that it can't still be modular on larger bases, but this is going to be going in the small town district of my city, and I'm trying to keep everything as small as possible. Something else you may notice is I'm kind of making this a corner building. It's not really a corner building in the aspect of it's going to be on the end of a street. I'm making it a corner building because I wanted to capture some of the side details as well from the original building. But not only that, I'm going to be using that side wall in an alleyway next to my hotel. Again, while I'm doing this, you will notice different pictures end up popping up on my monitor, and that is because I'm always trying to find the best image to work on the space that I'm currently working on. After I got some of the side wall work done, I thought, I should probably stop and do a little work on the interior. So I did another search, found some more images, and the majority of the inside of the building is done in green. So what I decided to do is I'm using sand green to add a lot of little highlights to the interior of it. And I'm honestly loving how the sand green complements the medium nougat. It's a really good color combination. Yes, I know it's majorly 60s color combination, but it still looks really good together. And because I don't want to get crazy detailed on the inside of this particular mock, because like any of the things that I design, I'm not using them as a playset and I'm not playing with them inside. Once they're built, they stay closed and that's it. So for the actual cells, I'm using the vintage 2-stud deep Lego door frames they used to sell with the actual cell bars for the door. And with doing that, I decided to use black instead of the white Legorado cell because I thought it looked really good having the black with the sand green. And then to even add more sand green to the interior, I decided to make a gun rack, just holding 2 old rifles underneath the stairwell, because I just thought that gave a nice, really cool finished feature. And on the original set for the Andy Griffith show, they did have a small 2-gun rack hanging on the wall. So I thought that was a really appropriate touch for the first floor. But anyway, after finally feeling that I had enough detail entered into the first floor that it would be interesting to look at through the windows of the building, I decided I was going to start finishing off all the back wall, add all the little details I wanted to do there, so we could call the first floor completely done. And I started that by just first bricking in the back walls, and then of course, like anything that I do, I have to add a little gas meter and a little electric meter, just to add a few little tidbits of extra detail. I didn't want to get too carried away with the backside because, quite frankly, most buildings on the backside are usually very boring anyway, so I didn't want to waste the pieces or the parts. But having some small details is an absolute necessity, just like having the exterior light, because there's always a light on the back door of any building that you see. But anyway, now that the first floor was 100% complete, I got busy trying to figure out how to do the second floor, where to locate the staircase, and all that good stuff, because we do want to have it to where the staircase can actually lead up to the top floor. While doing this, I came to the realization I am almost out of all of my masonry bricks in the medium nougat, and because I never liked this school building, it was just something I did to try and show people, look, if you buy a couple sets and combine them, you can make a decent looking build. I decided I'm going to scrap this building for parts. It doesn't really go with the theme or the appearance that I'm going for in my new city. And I thought, what better way to get the parts except to recycle another one of my old buildings? Even with scrapping that building, as you can see, I do have more parts, but I don't have a ton. So I started going a little bit more sparingly with the masonry brick. So you'll notice as I'm going along here and there, I will put in standard bricks. And on the wall that's going to be against another building is all standard bricks to try and help keep that brick look and keep the brick feel on it, but not fully do the entire thing using masonry brick. We all love masonry brick. I'm sure everybody, just like me, is dying to buy as much of it as possible, but it can be rather hard to come by. And the only place that I know you can really find it typically is on Bricklink, and it's usually not very inexpensive at all. Even buying it directly from Lego, I want to say those start at 14 cents or something around that price range. I also want to point out, if nobody's noticed, when I scrapped out my train station here just a few weeks ago, one of the many reasons I did it is because I wanted to get the windows out of it to use them in other buildings. And here's a prime example of what I meant by that, because the entire top floor is using some of the windows that were originally on the facade of my original train station that I destroyed. And I know a lot of people are still upset and disappointed about that, but to me, those particular windows are freaking amazing, and they help make this building look a lot more natural. Now that we're done with that particular floor, I wanted to show you real quickly the interior. Again, not a lot of details, just a few desks, a file cabinet, and then a small locker room, because you're only going to see it from the windows, and I didn't feel I wanted to spend a ton of time trying to do a lot of crazy details. So now we're on to the roof, and the roof was just simply a fact of running I think it was one course of bricks all the way around, and then on the front center, because the peak on the center was a little bit higher, so I ran 2 courses of bricks. And then for everything on the facade, because I wanted it to stick forward just a little bit, I lined everything with jumper plates. And then once the jumper plates were placed, I put all the other brickwork sticking out to give it that nice, cool, finished look. And then last but not least, because we are on the roof, I had to add, not necessarily a fire escape, but I'm just calling it the stair access to the roof itself. All in all, I am very happy with how this thing turned out. I think the sheriff windows work really well with the Doc Ock windows, which is what the windows are on the top floor. They complement each other very well. The first floor, though, what I did have to do is the original sheriff's department windows are a white frame, so I did have to take those out and put them in a gray frame, so that way all the windows did match accordingly. And then, of course, I always have to add lighting. And to me, the lighting is, again, like all of my builds, what makes them come alive. And I just love that vintage sheriff sticker sign right above the doors. I know on the Andy Griffith show that is actually supposed to say courthouse, but to me, I still think it just looks really good that way. And then again, for the alleyway, it's just enough detail to make it look realistic and busy, but not too much to where it doesn't look like it belongs. And I'm really happy with how this turned out and can't wait to get it placed into my city.